Well, welcome everyone to our third installment of BBB's Junior Board Masterclass. If this is your first time joining us today, my name is Pamela Anson, and I am the Director of Outreach at Better Business Bureau, serving Greater Cleveland. And I just want to go over a little bit about our Junior Board in case you are not familiar with it. So earlier this year, we really wanted to bring entrepreneurs together as well as emerging leaders. And really our goal to do this was to find new ways to connect with businesses and consumers, see how we can give back and expand brand awareness, and really offer some great advice for businesses. And that's really our goal here today, is to talk about common challenges that you might face as a business and get a different perspective. And we appreciate everyone taking the time today to attend our Junior Board Masterclass. And before introducing our speakers today, I'd just like to go over a few housekeeping items. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to type those in the questions box or the chat feature, and we will be happy to answer those. And this session is also being recorded, and we will be posting and sending this video out after so that you can review the information. It will also be posted on BBB's YouTube page. So search for us on YouTube and you can watch all of our videos from the Junior Board Masterclasses there. So now I would like to introduce our speakers. We have Matt Barker, and Matt is the studio manager at New Image Media, which is a full-service media production company that focuses on video, animation, graphics, and photography. Matthew is responsible for the day-to-day operations of the studio and all aspects of production from concept to delivery. Matthew excels in his role by providing high quality, fast, affordable production services crafted for marketers and small businesses. When not on a video shoot or at the studio, you can find Matthew spending time with his wife, Casey, hiking and exploring all the great things Northeast Ohio has to offer. We're also welcoming back Shanae Braxton of Business and Travel. We hope that you got to see Shanae on our first Junior Board Masterclass. And she is a wanderer and travel storyteller who believes the world is her classroom. Known for her poise, confidence, and out-of-the-box thinking, she felt that she needed a drastic change in her life and decided to pack up her life, say goodbye to her friends and family, and move to Morocco to experience a different language and culture. From there, Business and Travel was formed, which focuses on custom services tailored to the needs of travel and lifestyle content creators, as well as product and service providers. So thank you, Matt and Shanae, for joining us today, and we are very excited to learn all you have to provide to us.
Thanks, Pam. Okay, I'll take it away. So thank you all for attending today, and thank you again, Pam, for the introduction. So again, my name is Matt Barker. I'm the studio manager here at New Image Media. And I'm going to start by talking about those first 3 bullets, and then I'm going to hand it over to Shanae, and she'll wrap it up with those 4, and then we'll have a Q&A. So first, let me tell you a little bit about our company. So like Pam said, we're a production house. We do video production, animation, graphics, and photography. And we like to say we're a small yet mighty team of experienced creatives. And that team includes Steve Petty, the owner, creative director, Juliana Clark, our photographer and assistant editor. And our newest addition is Brandon Winger, our media production specialist, and then myself. And so we've been in business since 1996, and we've partnered with, countless business owners, marketers, and agencies. And here's a list of just a few of our clients to give you an idea of who we work with. So a lot of B2B companies. We do some, nonprofit, government, a lot of local Cleveland, and we even do some international work with a lot of clients. So it's a wide gamut. So next, let's start by defining visual content. So this definition came from Killer Graphics, and they're out of Portland, Oregon. And if you kind of Google visual content, visual communication, their definition has really been adopted as like the gold standard. Visual communication graphically represents information to efficiently and effectively create meaning. So when necessary, limited text is used to explicate the meaning. So what that really means is, use text to support your visual. It's not going to be a one-to-one with visual and text. So that text really supports what your visual is, and that's what visual communication is. Sorry about the slides earlier. But moving on, so the stats. So the demand for visual content is high, and there is science behind this. So, visuals simply connect differently to your brain than text does. So by using visuals, you can connect and engage with your audience faster, and visual content can help your audience comprehend that information better. And search engines and social media companies, they know this, and that's why they're, prioritizing that visual content versus the text-based content. So when you're on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter, you're seeing so many images and videos and things like that because, that's what our brains want to see. And there's really hundreds of stats that kind of prove this, but here's two, particularly powerful ones. So by 2022, online videos will make up more than 82% of all consumer internet traffic. And that's 15 times higher than it was in 2017. So the trend is, rising. It's not plateaued. It's just continuing to rise, which is good for us and businesses. So as a result of that rise, B2B organizations use 96% of B2B organizations are using video in some capacity in their marketing campaigns. And of that 96%, 73% have reported positive results. So now that we talked about, some stats and trends, or stats and what a visual content is, let's talk about the trends. So I put together a short list, is just 4, and you guys may be familiar with some of these, but I'll go through them, and then there's plenty of others, but this is just a select few. So 1 is atomize your content, 2 is live streaming, 3 user-generated content, and 4 short video platforms. So number 1 is atomize your content, and you may have heard of this before, but it stands true, and it will continue to stand true, and it will, into the future stand true. So atomizing your content is a great way to get the most out of it. And what I mean by atomize is you create mini content out of like your existing content with the intent to drive your audience back to that main piece. So for example, a webinar like today. So let's say you have a 30-minute webinar, you could take that and edit, 30-second to 1-minute micro videos that drive your audience with unique call to actions back to watch that full piece. So by doing this, you're able to stay active on social media. So what if you could turn that 30-minute webinar into 30 videos? That's a month's worth of post every single day of unique content posts that all drive back to that main video. And you only had to create that one initial piece, and all those micro content came out of it. And I know Shanae is going to speak on this in a little bit and go over the short and long form content and how she kind of uses it to build her business. Next is live streaming. So as you know, live streaming, has taken over in the last year, and it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. So taking advantage of that is a great way to get in front of your audience and show off that you're an authentic company with a genuine desire to help your customers. So live streams, they also present an opportunity to have that immediate interaction with your audience and gives them a chance to ask you questions and interact directly with each other. And several of our clients are actually doing this very thing. So they're hosting monthly webinars on their products or their industry specific topics that like the customers might be interested in. So they host them, they're interacting and answering questions directly. They're building that trust with their customer base, all while being, seen as the knowledge experts in their fields. And then on top of just the live stream portion, they're recording these just like we're doing today. So afterwards, they're atomizing it. They're creating those short video and audio snippets that they promote on LinkedIn. And then that's the platform they're using is LinkedIn. And it's all used to drive their audience back to that full piece of content, which is hosted, on their website. And on some of these evergreen webinars topics that they've done, they've been able to use these and promote them for months or even, years if the content is still relevant.
Can I jump in here on live streaming?
Yeah.
I absolutely love live streaming because it literally, as soon as you go live, it notifies everyone in your community that you're live. And like Matt said, it's the perfect way to have conversations with people. And even when you are not wanting to do something so technical, live is the best way to just put the content out into the world without a lot of editing, without a lot of technical experience. Literally, all I do when I'm creating my live is make a script. So at least I know what I'm going to be talking about. But once you press live, you can just go and then, you know, make sure you save it for the replay. But live is a really good method to get you started with creating content.
Great point. Thanks, Shanae. That was good. Yeah. And then next is user-generated content and how to leverage it. So, it's safe to say most consumers, especially younger consumers, don't fully trust advertising and media as much these days. And that's where this user-generated content comes in. So it's relevant, it's easily shareable, minimal cost, and it really increases trust. People trust people. Your customers are hearing that message from a fellow consumer and not the company itself. And a stat on this, according to a Nielsen Consumer Trust Index, 92% of consumers trust organic user-generated content more than they trust traditional advertising. So this is like your YouTube and Google reviews. So now, as a business, you can't control what someone might post about you in a review, but you can leverage and take advantage of a positive one. And when you integrate that into your marketing strategies smartly, it allows your brand to show a user's perspective on a certain product or service in a really authentic, relatable, and credible way. And that's what makes it such a valuable asset in marketing. And an easy way to incorporate this is, simply share a video or a video review that someone did on your company. If it's, in a positive light and you wanted to share it with your audience, you just simply share it on your social media accounts. It's a great way to start that. And then trend 4 is short video platforms. So these are, TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram Reels, and YouTube Shorts. And they really tie into what we just talked about, the user-generated content. And some B2C brands are really having success using these to reach that Gen Z audience. And I know Shanae is going to speak on this a little bit too and give examples of how she uses her short form platforms to promote and drive traffic to, her longer form platforms. But some of the brands that are utilizing these short videos platforms are, they're bigger brands, but it's like Dunkin' Donuts, American Eagle, Kroger, Chipotle, brands like that. But some of the strategies they're using can be adopted by any size company or organization. So what they're doing is they're not necessarily using the built-in ad programs on the platform. So they all, Snapchat, TikTok, you can just pay money and put an ad out there, like I guess a traditional kind of ad. But that's not what these organizations are doing. They're instead partnering with influencers to advertise their products to that younger Gen Z audience. And according to a study by Edelman, 63% of consumers aged 18 to 34 trust, influencer recommendations more than traditional advertisements. So if you're a company that's really needs to reach that younger consumer audience, these platforms are something to keep an eye on. So moving on to out of the trends into the content production and some best practices. And when it comes to producing a successful visual campaign, the struggle often exists with being able to produce, engaging visuals consistently. That's a big challenge. So a solution to this, and your organizations may have these, but it's to have a brand style guide or a visual language that really details, your fonts, your colors, illustration styles, imagery, icons, that kind of thing. And they can be as detailed as you like, or as general as well. And you can even make campaign specific guidelines as well. So say it's Halloween's coming up. If you had for the month of October, wanted to do, social posts that had a spooky style to it, you could have a brand style guide for the month of October that had maybe a fun font, a spooky font, oranges and blacks as your colors or something like that, just for that month. So, everything you're making that month is following this specific style guide. It's all going to match and it's all going to be on your brand. So in addition to having that style guide, an equally important tool is to have a visual workbench or a library. So this is like a set of graphic assets that your team can repurpose for, a variety of things. So they're like icons, charts, images, videos, that kind of, those kind of assets. So you have this library built up and you can kind of think of it as your own stock library for your own organization's custom stock library. So you spend a few days or a day creating them. So you find all these images that represent your brand, or you hire a company to come in and take photos, custom stock photography, that kind of thing. And you just gather them all and you store them, you know, in a cloud or wherever. You have this library. So when you go to make a presentation, you can just pull an image from there, or a video from there, or you know, an icon from there. So, you know, everything you're using matches your brand perfectly because you spent the time ahead of up front, you know, creating that library. So it makes the content production so much faster because you're using everything that matches your brand perfectly, and you don't have to worry about, you know, is that going to be right, or and spend all that time looking on through stock sites. You already have it, you did all that work up front. So having that style guide and a custom library is what really will help your visuals be consistent in quality and much faster to create. And I know Shanae is going to speak on this again too in detail, more specifically on how she increases reach by utilizing, you know, those themes and categories, kind of like that Halloween kind of thing I was talking about, and content pillars.
I did want to jump in here really quick about the library. And one of the things that, like you said, Matt, is you want to have that library being built out constantly. So one of the things that I recommend is capturing content as you without needing it first. You don't want to get into this habit of, oh, I want to make a post today. What content am I going to capture? What image, video do I need? Literally just day to day, take pictures, day to day, record videos, and just kind of capture things without necessarily knowing right away what you're going to do with it, but have in mind, you know, what your goals are within the content. Maybe you wanted to take people behind the scenes. Maybe you want to walk people through a specific process. Maybe you're not going to publish it that day or that week, but having that library of content is going to really reduce the stress of creating content, because the content creation process can be a little daunting if you don't have a lot of experience, if it's something new, if, you know, whatever the case. But having that library built up over time is really going to help reduce the amount of stress and time that you put into marketing your business using visual content.
Yeah, great point, Shanae. Yeah, constantly building it so you're not, yeah, exactly, great point. So moving on to optimization and promotion. So when it comes to videos and even visual content, it's always a good idea to optimize anything you put anywhere. So when and on videos specifically, when you add them to like Facebook or YouTube, take advantage of those built-in tools the platforms have. And that includes, you know, the obvious of a title and a description. So make sure you have those, but also make sure to add tags, because that's what helps those platforms make recommendations on your video and recommend your video to other people. And then in addition to that, it's also a good idea to have captions. So one, because it makes your videos, you know, more accessible to that wider audience. And two, YouTube actually ranks videos with captions higher than videos without captions. So by just simply adding captions, your video is going to rank higher than maybe a competitor's video that doesn't have captions. And when it comes to promotion and advertising, most, if not all, social platforms, they have these video sharing sites. They have these programs built in place for advertising. So this is like your YouTube pre-roll ads or Facebook post boosting. And we don't have time today to dive into the specifics, but just remember that for a relatively low cost, you can target, you know, very specifically to reach your intended audience. This is like zip code specific targeting that you can do on a lot of these platforms. So finally, I'm gonna end my part of the presentation before I hand it over to Shanae and share some resources that I thought might help you guys get started on a content journey, a visual content journey. And you can email me as well, and I can send these to anybody who wants them. But I'll quickly go through them, and some of these you may be familiar with. So iStock, one of the most popular stock sites out there, remains a good source for images and videos. And they also just added a really cool new feature. This was like the last time I looked, it wasn't there, and it was there like last week when I looked at it. But it's a video editing feature. So if you buy a stock video off of iStock, you can add text, music, and logos directly to it before you download it. So it's like a built-in web-based kind of video editor. Jump Story is another stock photo library site. It's a subscription style. And what their differentiator is from iStock is that they promote their photos as high performing and authentic stock images. So like in your mind, most people have an idea of what, like a stock image is. And sometimes it's not always good, like a corny stock image or something like that. Jump Story, they brand themselves as not having those type of images. Elements and Dot Envato, this is another subscription-based stock site. We personally use this at New Image Media. It's a yearly subscription, and you have access to unlimited photos, videos, music, motion graphic, templates, and more. It's really been a great resource for us. These next two, Lost Type and Font Squirrel, they're both font websites. So like when you're working on that, maybe that style guide, when you're developing it and you want to have a unique font, these are kind of two good resources to go to explore and see what's out there. And they both offer some free and then a low cost kind of fonts. Premiumbeat.com is a music site. So if you needed a stock music track for your video or something, you can go there. They have a lot of good tracks. What's unique about Premium Beat is their library is exclusive to them. So you won't find a song that's on their website anywhere else. So sometimes, you buy a song or pick a stock song and then you hear it everywhere, like everybody's using it. So at Premium Beat, that it's exclusive to that website so it's not going to be as easy for everybody to access, I guess. And Vengage is another pretty neat site. It's almost like a web-based Photoshop or InDesign. So it's a infographic creator, presentations, flyers, graphics, that kind of thing. It's really easy to use. It's drag and drop. It's kind of like Canva in a way. So it's really a great resource to create some really nice looking images, especially if you don't have access to the Creative Cloud and Photoshop and those type of programs. So Rev.com is a transcription and captioning service. So if you needed those captions for your video, this is a great place to go. They're really affordable. Or you just needed a transcription of something. It's also really affordable, great place. And then finally is Lodi. So Lodi, this might get a little technical. It's a JSON-based animation file format. So you can think of it as like a GIF or an alternative to a GIF or a GIF. They're really small files, like way smaller, like file size than a GIF. And they work on any device and they can scale up or down without pixelation. And that's what their big advantage is. There's that small file size, the scalability that works on phones, websites, and other platforms natively. You don't have to worry about putting it on your website and it might not work on the phone. It'll just will. And it's not new. It's fairly new. It's been around for like 10 years, but it's kind of just gaining traction. So if you use WordPress as like a website builder, you may see this in some of the back end of WordPress, add a Lodi animation or something like that. So it's something to keep an eye on for the future. And that website, Lodi Files, it's a free library of a ton of animations that you can just download and use because it's an open source file format. So again, that's my email, matt@newimagemedia.com. So please email me with any questions on anything we spoke about, and I'm going to hand it over now to Shanae.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. So I actually have a question, but first I really wanted to make a point that you made a great point about media, especially because if you're just getting started with media, you can't just take a picture off the internet. Those
Right.
things are copyrighted, and we don't want businesses to get in trouble. So it's important to use things like stock images to help protect your business and, seem as more trustworthy than just taking some image off the internet.
Good point.
Great point. Mm-hmm.
And so, Matt, we do have a question. And the question is, can you share any examples or success stories of brands that are leveraging user-generated content?
Yep, yeah, sure can. So I got two examples actually. So there's a local example with Nature Stone. So that's one of our clients locally. They're using user-generated content in a pretty unique way. So they're currently running a contest. And you guys, I encourage you, if you want to do it, you can go do it right now. But it's a contest on their social media sites where they're encouraging customers to submit their best version of the tagline. So if you've seen the commercials on TV, it's like, oh, wow, it's Nature Stone. So there's like a tagline that ends every commercial. So they're encouraging customers to submit the best one that they can do. Is they're sending videos in, and then they're going to give a free floor to the winner of that contest. And then they're gathering, so while this contest is going on, they're gathering hundreds of these videos that they're going to use in future promotion. So it's a pretty unique way that they're getting this content in, and then they're going to stockpile it and use it in the future. And on the national side, like Dunkin' Donuts is a big brand of their, they partner with a TikTok influencer and released a limited drink called the Charlie to their menu. So when, and then they have that Charlie, she promoted the beverage through a series of videos, and she has like over 100 million followers. So as a result of that unique promotion with that special drink on their menu, they saw a 45% increase in sales, cold brew sales, the very next day after it launched, which is like pretty incredible. And then that hashtag, if you like the hashtag the Charlie, it has over like 156 million views, video views the last time I looked, which is like, I'm sure it's more now, but that was like a couple weeks ago. So those are kind of two examples, you know, a national one and then a local.
That's really interesting. And now that I'm thinking about it, do we have a Dunkin' Donuts on our campus? But I'm just thinking about the college campuses that have Dunkin' Donuts and the amount of students that just use their student cards to go and get Dunkin' Donuts. That probably added to their revenue.
Yeah.
She's in Gen Z, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really cool. And that's the power of utilizing collaborations, which we'll talk about today. And so that's actually a great segue into what I'm going to be sharing with you, because we're going to talk about how and where to establish an online presence using visual communication. And what Matt provided for us today was a foundation of visual content and how to go about the process. And then what we're going to do is build on that, and we're going to actually get into the action of the content creation process. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope you all are ready, because we're going to have you taking some action today. So again, my name is Shanae Braxton. I am a travel and lifestyle content creator on YouTube and the founder of Business and Travel, where we consult travel and lifestyle content creators on how to grow their business. I want to first talk to you about the value statement of visual content and building an online presence. So building an online presence using visual content helps bring awareness to your products, services, and your brand story. Through Know, Like, and Trust, content creators within your business are the bridge builders between an experience and a new client. Now, we've all heard of the term content creator. And so let's talk about what that means. What is a content creator? A content creator is a storyteller, an information giver, and they utilize multimedia to communicate to an audience. And content can come in many forms. Ultimately, what you want to do when you're creating content is you want to give people an experience. And that is going to take place through the senses. So what are they tasting? What can they imagine themselves tasting? What can they touch? What can they feel? What can they hear? What can they see? And this is going to help to, as results, are they purchasing something because of your content? So you want to look at how are you giving them the experience virtually so that it leads them to actually taking action towards purchasing something from your business. And think about know, like, and trust. That's a very important factor too. And I like how Matt mentioned live streaming, because live streaming is really a great way, one, to get you to just talk to people publicly without it being overly produced. It's just a matter of jumping online and saying, hey, I'm here, ask some questions, let's talk, let's communicate. And this is going to get people to understand who you are as a business, because a lot of times, especially nowadays, businesses want to know, or individuals, consumers, they want to know who's behind the business. What's the personality of the business owner, of the people within the business doing all the work? That helps connect them to your brand a lot faster than if you were a faceless brand. We're going to first identify a couple of problems that we experience when it comes to building an online presence and creating visual content. And so we have 4 different problem areas that we want to hope to address today. And what I want you to do in the chat is, if either of these apply to you, just put a 1 in the chat, 2, 3, or 4. And we'll just take a look and see, how we can best serve you, or what we can talk about a little bit more in detail throughout the rest of today's lesson so that we can help you to resolve some of the challenges you experience. So first is, without an online presence, it's difficult to build brand recognition. And brand recognition is essentially people knowing that your business actually exists. And I know we are all into the habit of, when we're looking up places to eat, places to travel, places to schedule a doctor's appointment, we're always looking up reviews. We're always looking up the website. We're always looking up their social media platforms. And so you yourself as a consumer know what it's like to want to find somebody online. And that's why it's important as a business owner to think about your consumers' experience and how they're going to actually engage with you and come in contact with you. And that's why online presence is important. The challenge is that many businesses had to pivot their business model from in-person to online. So a lot of businesses that were in person, maybe they had an online presence, but maybe they had so much popularity and traffic from their in-person business that they didn't have to focus so much on building their online presence. And we know within the past year, everybody had to pivot to having some sense of an online presence. And so because of that, we realize that many businesses are lacking the knowledge on how and where to establish an online presence. And then many businesses are also lacking an understanding of the process of content creation. And we're going to address that today. So I'm really excited about today's presentation, because marketing, content creation, media is my favorite subject. Matt, did you want to add anything here?
Sorry, I was muted. No, I was going to say, no, those are good. Yeah, yeah, good job.
Perfect. Okay, so we have a proposed solution for our problems that we just talked about. And remember, in the chat, let me go back. So in the chat, let me know 1, 2, 3, 4, or all of them, which problems apply to your business. And so we can address those today. Okay, so here's where we're going to take action. The first thing I want you to do is think about the platforms that you want to produce content. Think about the platforms where your particular audience actually spends a lot of their time. And we're going to take time and we're going to focus on one long form platform and one short form platform. And as examples of long form platforms, we have email marketing, YouTube, podcasting, and your website. Maybe you're a blogger. And then for short form platforms, we are going to be looking at some options like Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And just to be clear, I want you to focus on one of each. And the reason being is because I don't want you to spread yourself too thin if you are just growing your online presence, or if you want to maximize a certain platform over another. I recommend one of each category so that you can really test things out and see how they work. And as those platforms grow, you'll notice that other platforms that you have, they will start to grow as well. And one other thing I want to mention, we're only picking one of each, but if you don't have the handle on these other platforms, I recommend getting those, because you want to make sure when you're ready to expand to these other platforms, you at least have the handles for your business name. But for today, we're not going to dive deep into doing too much on too many platforms. We're going to really focus in on one of each. So go ahead and pick one of your long form platforms and pick one of your short form platforms that you're going to build your online presence and create visual content for. In my case, I use YouTube and I use Instagram as my long form and short form platforms to market business and travel. You might want to use email. Maybe that is a great way to establish a relationship with your audience. And you can do email newsletters, you can do them weekly, you can do them monthly, you can do them whenever you have an announcement, but email is a great way to get started. And we're going to talk about email, the importance of having an email list in general shortly. Now, when we think about visual content, content creation, we're talking about your digital footprint. And that is essentially, where do you live online? So as we mentioned, when a new customer, a new client comes in contact with your brand, your business, they want to find you online. They're going to search up, what are other people saying? What is someone else's experience when they are going to this restaurant, or when they're booking an appointment with you? And so that's something that you want to consider. What does your digital footprint look like? Today, we're going to go through a digital footprint map so that you can determine what marketing channels you want to utilize to help build your online presence and to help you decide how best to think about your visual content and what you plan to create. Start collaborations. So this is a process of working with influencers, creators, and brands that are in your niche and intersect with your niche. And Matt gave the perfect example of the young lady who worked with Dunkin' Donuts. And for me, thinking about that young lady and her age, in my mind, I'm automatically thinking college age, college campuses. Okay, college campuses have restaurants. And so I wonder if Dunkin' Donuts is a part of, so it's very strategic why Dunkin' Donuts chose to partner with her. Now, that's just one way of thinking about a strategic collaboration, but I don't know her personally, but whoever her audience is, obviously they drink Dunkin' Donuts because Dunkin' Donuts was able to get results from partnering with her. So that's an example. Another example is, for example, I'm a travel and lifestyle content creator. I do travel vlogs, and I also do travel marketing education on my YouTube channel. So an example of me doing a collaboration could be with Destination Cleveland and working with them to create videos on things to do in Cleveland during the NBA Finals week of 2022. Another example, which we see all the time, is athletes partnering with sneaker brands. We've seen those many, many times. So you already have an idea of what we're talking about when we're talking about collaborations. Another example, which I think is extremely unique, is the tech and fashion industry. Who would have thought tech and fashion went together, right? But we've had many creators that are creating fashion and creating an experience using personless fashion shows, creating personless fashion shows. And I've seen that take place using Twitter. That's where I first saw the personless fashion shows. So I think that's a great example of what technology can do when it comes to content creation. And think about last year, and we couldn't come in contact with people, and someone created a personless fashion show that's contactless. So these are ways that, as a brand, thinking about how you can be creative, thinking about how you can utilize what you have to take advantage of building your online presence. The next thing we're going to address on our digital footprint map is email. Having an email gives you authority because it's a direct line of communication. Now, I want to talk about an issue that we all just experienced, and that was Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp going out in a day. I know every cell phone service company has so many calls, they probably couldn't answer everyone's calls because we personally were trying to figure out if it was our cell phone service or what was going on. Why couldn't we get onto these platforms? And this is why email is so important, because when those platforms go down, how do you talk to your audience? How do you build that relationship with your audience? And maybe you're getting started and you don't have an email list. This is the perfect opportunity for you to start thinking about that. If you have an email list, how are you using it? Is this going to be your long-form platform? It can be, and I recommend it because it's a great opportunity for you to have that direct engagement with your audience. Okay, next is social.
The grounds are huge, so it's a good little walk from our villa to the lobby. Villa 406, Villa Amba.
What you just saw there was atomized content. So this is a great example of what Matt was talking about, atomizing your content. This is a small snippet of my experience traveling to St. Lucia. And on my YouTube channel, you'll find 5 videos actually, of my blogging experience in St. Lucia. And so I use a lot of small clips from my long form content and atomize it down to small clips to put on Instagram. And when I am recommending how to go about the content creation process, I always recommend starting with your long form content first, because your long form content is going to take the longest for you to put together. And once you put it together, you can utilize that content over and over again, and you can utilize small pieces of it. Say you're a blogger or you have an email that you're sending out. On social media, you can create really juicy phrases, really punchy words that you're using in your blog or you're using in your email marketing. And you can post those on social media so that you can get people to engage with you through email or to engage with you on your blog. And social media is a great way to have conversation. A lot of what most of us probably do is direct messaging via social media. So I think this is a great way to build those relationships. And also, social media is an opportunity not only for you to put content out into the world, but it's also an opportunity for you to talk to people. And so when we're talking about visual content and putting content out as a business, you also want to remember that you have to talk to people. You have to also talk to them on their platforms, engage with their content, more than just the like, comment, ask questions, actually start conversations with people, because that is a part of building your know, like, and trust. And it also gets people into the habit of actually going to your profile. So one of the things I notice is that if I'm talking to somebody on their profile or their picture, they're most likely, after I make a comment, going to say, who is that? They're going to go to my profile. So that's something that you want to think about as you are putting content onto these platforms, that you also have to be able to engage and have one-on-one conversations. Did you want to add something here, Matt?
No, everything you said was great. I was going to add something to the email one, that just jump in and say, how critical that is, because that is, emails are what you own. You own people's email, as funny as that sounds. But like on Facebook, you don't really, your followers, Facebook could shut down tomorrow, or Twitter could shut down, and then and if you built your business on that, you'd be in trouble. So collecting those emails, it's so important to have those emails to build your network out.
Exactly. Okay, and then media. Media, this is mass communication. And so a couple of years ago, I wrote an article for Travel Noir. It's a travel magazine. And I talked about my experience living in Morocco as an expat. And at the same time, I had also just started my YouTube channel. So it was a perfect opportunity for me to share my experience as an expat in Morocco and also gain traction on my YouTube channel, because from that one article, I had so many people connect with me via my other social platforms, Instagram and YouTube, and say, oh my gosh, I saw your article on Travel Noir, and I'm so grateful to hear your story. And I really like mass communication and just an online presence in general, because when you're looking for someone who is in your audience, or someone who has the same interests as you, or they're doing something that you aspire to do, it's very encouraging for that person who comes in contact with your content, because it encourages them, or it allows them to see, like, this is a reality, this is possible, other people are doing it, so I'm not the only one. And that's really what I enjoy about content. So let's talk about the content creation process, because I want you all to get started with creating content for your brand and building your online presence. And you can increase your impact and reach by utilizing themes and brand pillars to organize engaging and shareable content. So let's talk a little bit about themes and categories. With themes, you can do things like want to establish yourself as a thought leader in your industry. You can do themes based on current events. As Matt mentioned, Halloween is coming up, and also the holidays are coming up. Is there an opportunity for you to create content based off of those current events? We also have the mayoral election coming up in Cleveland. Is there an opportunity for you to create content around that current event? And then behind the scenes, people love being up in our business, right? This is the truth. And so as you're growing your business, as you're putting in the work, take people behind the scenes, because they want to know that it actually took this person this much effort or this step in order to get to where they are today. Taking people behind the scenes is authentic. It allows people to see you as a human and as someone who actually has to work for what you have. So I really enjoy doing this personally as a creator, and especially in the travel industry, because a lot of what we see in travel is beautified. And so I like to take people behind the scenes of the content creation process, of the travel process, so that you can see, yes, it's fun. Yes, it's a transformational experience, but it takes work. And then holidays, as we talked about, current event. Is it something that you can create content around? And a good reason why we want to think about themes and categories is because when you're planning out content, you want to think about the long game. You want to plan it out a year in advance. You want to plan it out a month in advance. You want to have things in place to where you can come in and say, okay, we have this overall category or theme around content. Let's break that down into 4 different areas that we can focus on. And then when it comes to categories, this, in my opinion, would be considered your brand pillars. So what does your business actually represent? What does it stand for? And if you have, for example, if you are a yoga instructor and your brand categories are sustainable travel, healthy living, and being a vegan, those are your categories. And so you can create content around all 3 of these topics, and that will help people understand who you are as a business and what you represent and the type of people that you serve. For business and travel, my categories are personal travel and lifestyle experiences. So you'll see that in my blogs. And then I also share travel marketing education for creators and brands in the travel industry. I help creative businesses start or understand the process of starting their business in travel. I share my experience wanting to be a digital nomad. So I talk a lot about design living and how to be location independent. And then also my own international life experiences. These are things within business and travel that are my brand pillars. So these are what are important and what are representative of the brand. Now we're going to talk about some examples of how I'm utilizing themes and categories to create content for business and travel. The first theme, wanting to establish myself as a thought leader in the travel industry. You can see that highlighted or outlined in Black. And for example, when I was in Morocco, I served as a Peace Corps volunteer. And as a Peace Corps volunteer, you have the opportunity to learn whatever language of the country that you're in. Morocco speaks Arabic, and so I learned Moroccan Arabic. And me wanting to establish myself as a thought leader in the travel industry, one of the greatest things or assets that I took away from my Peace Corps experience was learning Moroccan Arabic. And so many people travel to Morocco, so I took that as an opportunity to share what I learned. I talk about in the videos here. This one is how to negotiate in Moroccan Arabic. This is numbers. So how do you count in Moroccan Arabic? How do you travel in Morocco using Moroccan terms? And then hygiene. These all came out last year. So this was a big one because we wanted to talk, how do I wash my hands? Where's the bathroom? How do I wash my clothes? This is what you'll learn from this video. And then for anyone who is in the travel industry or a traveler in general, they'll want to learn how to learn a language. And so there's a video on that. And then for those that want to live abroad, how to become an expat, we have a video there, and then how to plan retreats and retreat planning 101. The next theme is sharing my personal journey. And that is outlined in gold. So here you can see I'm sharing my video. I'm sharing my experience of traveling to America from Morocco, June 2021. So I talk about that experience during, we all know what time it was. So I talk about the experience of traveling during that time. And then in this video, I'm talking about my experience living in Morocco for 3.5 years. In this video, I'm talking about a productive day. So what it's like for me to work and live in Morocco. And so that's just sharing my personal journey. And if you notice, you can see how they're kind of grouped together. And so this is what I mean. When you create themes and categories, it helps your content creation process become a lot more smoother, because if you can have a theme around something, you can make sub-themes around your larger theme. Moving to categories, we're going to point out, first thing I want to point out actually is Matt mentioned live streaming. And I will tell you that this video, all of these videos here are live streamed. This was the easiest way for me to get the content out and not have to worry about it being overproduced. So for these videos, I created an outline, and essentially what my goal was for all of these videos were to establish myself as a thought leader. Remember, that's a theme. So I want to establish myself as a thought leader, and these videos helped me do that. They also serve as categories, because that is one of my brand pillars, is to create travel marketing and education videos. And so with the first category, it's my personal travel lifestyle experiences. And here I'm sharing my St. Lucia vlogs. And you saw an atomized piece of content on Instagram of my trip to St. Lucia. And then when you go over to my YouTube channel, you can see that I have full videos up on my channel about my experience in St. Lucia. And for the second category, as I mentioned, my second category is starting a creative business in travel. And so all of these videos here, starting here, how to blog while traveling, essential elements of starting a business in travel, email marketing. I'm talking about landing pages versus web pages. I'm talking about travel marketing here. I'm talking about how to plan, create, and organize your content. And so these are processes of starting a business in travel. And then my third category is travel marketing education for creators. And in this video, I'm partnering and collaborating with another travel and lifestyle content creator, and we're talking about the importance of collaboration. And so that in itself is a marketing tool, as we learned today. Collaboration is a marketing tool. So I collaborated with a content creator, and we talked about collaboration. Now let's look at some success indicators. The first is increased digital traffic, and that is just more eyes on your site or on your social platforms. And you can see what your digital traffic is by looking at some of your analytics. And then increased brand recognition. Do more people know your brand? So when you're coming in contact, you're introducing yourself. Hi, I'm the founder of X, Y, and Z brand. Are people aware of your brand? It's, oh, okay, I've heard of that brand before. Or, you know, when I hear something, again, I'm going straight to Google and I'm searching. What do I find on this brand? What are they about? Who are they? This is where brand recognition comes into play. More people starting to know who is your brand. And then that online interaction. Are you talking to people? Are people talking to you? This is very important, because content creation, visual communication, visual content is more than just putting the content out there. It's really about putting the content out there, but then also engaging with other people's content that they're putting out, because it's really an opportunity for you to network and, one, establish yourself in the industry that you want to be in, and then also make connections and network with other people in that industry or your clients so that they know that you exist. And then, of course, what's most important to all of us is increased revenue. How is this affecting your bottom line? And again, back to Dunkin' Donuts example, this was a positive impact on their bottom line. Now, we don't know how much they paid the influencer because that was a part of their expenses, but they were able to see an ROI. So this was something that was great. Do you want to add something here, Matt?
Yeah, actually, yeah. So I was going to say, yeah, it's to think about what its success is for you. So it might not be, 100,000 views on a video. It might just be one view. If you made a very targeted video and sent it to one person and got, like a $500,000 sale or something, and that's a true story that happened with one of our clients. He was working in a foreign country. They didn't speak the same language. So he made a video that demonstrated his product and sent it to him. And that was the only one person saw the video, but it led to a sale, like a $500,000 sale of equipment. So it's like that was a success for him. It wasn't, you know, I want to go viral and get 1 million views. It was, you know, so identifying what is a success for you out of your visual content is key, because it might not be the same as for everybody.
That actually is a great point. That makes me think about showing versus telling. And that's one of the things with content, what it helps to do. It helps to show people what you're doing, because sometimes people can understand, or they can comprehend a lot more of what they can see versus what they're hearing. And so that's a good balance too, of having, like Matt said, having a video that they can send and show what the brand is about, what the business is about, and then also talk about it. And that way you have those two pieces working together to really have a solid presence and a solid understanding of your brand to whoever your client is. So the best advice that I can give you is to just get started. I know content creation is daunting. It weighs heavy on all of us because it's like, what do I put out on social media? And don't think about perfection. I'll just say that. Don't think about perfection. Think about the value that you want to give to your audience, and think about how you want to establish a relationship with your audience, because it's all about that know, like, and trust. And so the best thing that I can tell you is to just get started. What you want to do next, you want to write down a list of theme ideas, and you also want to revisit your brand pillars. This is very important. Go back to your foundational components of your business. What does your business stand for? And if that's 2 or 3 things, you want to focus your content around those things. And then we want you to decide which 2 marketing channels are more suitable for your business. As I mentioned, the 2 marketing channels that I utilize for business and travel are YouTube and Instagram. And then you can also find me on my website at businessandtravel.co. Do we have any questions?
Yes, please feel free to type in your questions in the questions box. We already have some questions there. And I must say to you both that I might be biased because I'm a marketing professional, but I love this information. And I think you both put some great points on there. We already have a comment that says amazing job. I think you really captured, and I hope these questions are helpful to businesses. I think this one is for Matt. And Matt, if let's say you're a fairly young or new company just starting with video, it seems daunting. Where should someone start?
Yeah, good question. So there's a couple ways to approach it. In regards to, you know, content, we often suggest, you know, taking a look at your website. A lot of times the answers can be, you know, right in front of you. So maybe you have an About Us page or you know, a services page or something like that. These can be a great place to start, because you often have a basis, you know, of a script already existing, and you just need to tweak the wording a little bit. And another good place, maybe you don't even have a website yet, is when it comes to content would be, what are your customers asking you? What are those frequently asked questions? So if you spend a lot of time on the phone or in emails, you know, answering the same thing at one particular aspect of your business or a couple different things, that might be a really good opportunity for a video on that subject, you know, answering those questions. It would give your customers, you know, that information they want, and then it frees you up from answering, you know, the same email over and over again, and phone call over and again. And then in regards to equipment, if you're brand new to video, just trying to get your feet wet, you could simply use your phone. You know, phone cameras nowadays are good. They capture really nice video. So just make sure, you know, you're well lit, the audio sounds clear. You can even get microphones that plug into your phone, and then just do it, you know, horizontal. And then, like Shanae said, you know, just get started. You should just do it.
I do want to jump in here. So when I first started my YouTube channel, I started with this camera. It's a Fuji film. It was $200. So, I mean, it wasn't good quality. I'm just saying that, but it was meant for underwater experiences. I started with this because I didn't have a choice. And then I also utilize my phone. Now this is an iPhone. And so the one thing that I really liked about the iPhone was that it also comes with iMovie. So you can utilize your phone and not have to, as you're getting started, because maybe you don't have the income or you just want to kind of test out what you're doing before you invest so much. But start with what you have, and your phone is highly capable of creating videos. You have iMovie if you have an iPhone. You have iMovie right on your phone. You can edit and do everything from your phone. The downside, of course, is storage. So that's something to keep in mind, but you can start with your phone.
That's a great point. And I actually think the next question is a great follow-up to this. So do you think I should funnel money towards growing my video marketing, like equipment, programs, or even outsourcing to a professional, or other forms of digital marketing? I'm debating the pros and cons of which direction would have a better return.
What kind of business are we talking about?
They did not say.
Do you want to? I can take this one. Yeah. So I think, yeah, like Shanae said, it really does depend probably like on your business and how you're using video, whether or not, like if you're producing video like every day, you need to make a video, then it might make sense to invest in some equipment for yourself versus, you know, hiring a professional to come in every day to film a video for you is going to be, you know, unrealistic.
Right.
But, you know, it could be just a mix. Maybe you have, you invest in some equipment so you do some of your own videos, and then you have some other videos that you bring a professional in for that need to be a higher quality or something like that. We do that sometimes with our clients too. So like maybe an example would be testimonial videos. We can't be on location to get a testimonial for every company. So that we encourage, you know, get some of your own testimonials, pair it with some really nice professionally produced video, and you know, it's a good combination.
Right. And then once that's produced, because there was a question about whether or not they should utilize digital marketing, which I'm assuming they're referring to paid advertising. So once that content is created, especially if you're working with the production team, you can then go in and boost, I guess is what they would call it, boost that content or promote that content using digital marketing platforms.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that second question about reaching a younger audience or an older audience. I know on like Facebook and YouTube, you can pick, if you're actually paying for advertising, you can pay to reach a younger audience, like, you know, an age range. So that's an option too. And then there's also like, if you're in the actually producing that content and you're at the very stage, you haven't even made it, and you're thinking, oh, how do I make content for a younger audience? I would just research. I would think there's plenty of studies out there that says what a particular, you know, audience is attracted to or resonates with them. And that's where to start, you know.
Mm-hmm. And surveys will come into play there as well. So if your audience is already one generation over the other, survey them and ask them what are they most interested in, where are their platforms, what do they like, so that you can kind of tailor what you're doing to what they like. And then also study them, you know, look at their channels, look at who they're following, look at who, if you go to a lot of their platforms, you can see who they're following so that you can see what kind of content they like, what kind of content they consume.
Interesting. I guess I do have a follow-up question then. Do you think it's more valuable to focus your media production on your current customers, like let's say it is an older generation, or I guess how much time do you invest in trying to reach new and younger audiences if you're, maybe that's not normally like a platform you're used to reaching?
Yeah, I can go. Yeah, that's a good question. It's a really good question. I don't maybe have the best answer for it because it might just be some experimenting, you know. Mm-hmm. You know, if those older clients, older whatever clients are like 80% of your income or revenue, then yeah, maybe you should still be just focusing on them and not the new ones. So it's probably analyzing a little bit of that to see where you should best send your dollar. So it's probably not the best answer for you, but that's.
No, that's a good point.
It's true. It depends on what your goals are and also where you're seeing results. And so in some cases you have to kind of keep the engine going. So you do have to as people phase out, you have to bring more people into your cycle. And that could, it doesn't necessarily have to just be age. It could be, you know, a different type of demographic that you're trying to attract. But it really depends on your messaging and how you are communicating, because language that one generation uses is not the same language that another generation uses, and how they relate are different. So if you are talking to multiple generations, then that would just mean that your content, one piece of content has to speak a different language than another piece of content, but the overall theme category is the same.
Yeah, I love that. And definitely
It
using,
also might go on a different platform too.
yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I
Yes.
love that.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you both so much. You have made some excellent points today. And, you know, like I said, as a marketing professional, I find this information always so exciting. It's a very important part of businesses. You can reach so many demographics, and you made great points that even we try to implement here at the BBB, and what we try to even do for our marketing. So I think this is great tips for professionals and businesses that are just starting out or who have been in business for a long time. So thank you both so much.
Thank you. This was very fun talking about. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out to Matt or Shanae. They provided you their information, or reach out to me. Again, that's Pam at cleveland.bbb.org. And I'll be happy to get you in touch with either Shanae or Matt. Oh, thank you everyone for joining us and continuing on with this masterclass journey with us. And we hope to see you next week.
Bye.